Well, hey everybody, I'm John Redland with my review of NWA Powerrr Episode 7. If you want to know my thoughts on the comments from Cornette, wait for the end of the review. I will address those and give my full thoughts on those. Without going way too in depth, without going to 30 minutes, I'll give my thoughts at the end of this video. This show was quite fun. There were quite a few recaps. If you would cut through the recaps, you probably could have gotten through this in about 40 minutes, but well put together. Studio Wrestling, so happy to see Studio Wrestling back. And even with these shows being taped a couple months in advance, it just still feels fresh and it's just nice. We started with recaps of the Nick Aldis Camille situation, the saga, if you will. Will she betray him? Will she not? Who the fuck knows? We then Jim Cornette and Joe Galli running down the car. What we're going to see. We pitch to Marquez, who's interviewing Nick Aldis. He brings up stuff about Camille. And he says, look, she's her own person. She can't do, I don't keep tabs on her. If she's doing her own thing, it has nothing to do with me. There's nothing I can do about that. Fair? Okay, fair. He loves the fact that the crowd's chanting NWA. It's great, the hot studio crowd. And it was just nice. He really was soaking it in. He was just happy to see this brand that he's helped build, along with others. It's not just him. That so many are working hard to rebuild the NWA brand. And then he talks about Trevor Murdoch and mentions that Trevor Murdoch and him go way back to Harley Race's school, and that Trevor has been out of the limelight for a while, and this is going to be an exhibition match that he's going to have, and that he doesn't deserve a shot at the NWA title yet. And he's putting him over, but he's not putting him over at the same time. He's just being just a snide remarks and everything, but he does respect Trevor, but he feels he's not on his level. Fair, but also at the same time, people are obviously upset at Nick Aldis. And we get a match. It was a pretty good match. It was a quick match. Trevor did seem motivated, even at one point. Out of a hammerlock, Aldis gets in the ropes, and Trevor just kicks that rope right between his, right between his legs. Oh, good God, man, the Kingsman got hurt. And for a while, Murdoch looked like he was going to get the victory. He did hit the top rope bulldog. 1, 2, Aldis gets his foot on the rope. Trevor Murdoch tries for another top rope maneuver, kind of stumbles, maybe hurt his knee, and Aldis quickly gets the Kingsman Cloverleaf on, really has mastered that Cloverleaf, and gets a tap out. Bit of a show of respect at the end, which was nice, and we get a plug for Into the Fire, which I'm going to be ordering. If you order it by December 7th, and no, I'm not getting paid for any of this, I'm just a wrestling fan. If you order the NWA Into the Fire pay-per-view on Fight TV by December 7th, you get it for $19.99. Otherwise, or $19.99 or $19.95. Whole point is you get it for a few bucks off. Otherwise, you get it for $24.95 if you order it a couple days before. I enjoyed the NWA Crockett Cup show. Was more than happy to pay the price that I paid, and hopefully, we as fans get to enjoy a good pay-per-view, and the talents get to enjoy some good money. Let's support the roster. That's something I want to say right here. We then get the Rock and Roll Express. They get a tag title shot. They want a tag title shot. They get a tag title shot. They want to be 9-time NWA champions. Rock and roll, great stuff. We get the wild card promo, and Thomas Latimer basically says, "Well, Camille and I are just friends." And Royce Isaacs cuts a good promo as well. They were just dismissing the Rock and Roll because they're in their 60s. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I don't blame them, as legendary as they are. I don't blame these younger guys for, basically discrediting the Rock and Roll. Like, yeah, sure, they were great in their day, but we're younger and we're better. So we then get a weird highspots.com and Andy Anderson ad thing. It was odd. Colt joining commentary for Ricky Stark versus the Question Mark. This is all about first Question Mark being over, and Aaron Stevens attacked Ricky Starks, and then they're attacking him. Colt Cabana runs from the commentary table and runs them off, and we get that tag match later. We're actually getting that because Cornette and Galli announced that's going to be the main event. We then get Eli Drake running down Mr. Anderson, and Ken Anderson comes there and basically confronts him and says, well, hey, if you're talking so much, why don't we get in the ring and why don't we have this? And Eli's like, sure, yeah, we'll do that. Tries to take the jacket off, and then suddenly blindsides Ken Anderson and attacks him, and then goes to the little interview stand, grabs a spare turnbuckle that just happens to be sitting there for whatever reason. To what? They don't want to store that under the ring or backstage, maybe? It was a little odd, but it was what it was. I mean, I'm not against it. It's just weird that it was sitting right there. But he attacks him, hits him with the big turnbuckle. And then they're doing this angle where Anderson got attacked again, and then maybe he gets carried out, and they you know, cut to another. They cut to a commercial, and then we have recaps of Thunder Rosa and Marty Bell attacking Allison Kay and all the stuff that they've been doing. Big time, just, you know, again, right here. Last few reviews, you will know that I have plugged the fact that I love Thunder Rosa. I have mentioned that. I think she's great. She's worked exceptionally hard for years and years and years. I saw her at first Without a Cause show, local promotion, about 20 miles from my house. Really, really great. Really big honor to meet her and meet Priscilla Kelly and a few others. And it was just great stuff. And Thunder Rosa has worked exceptionally hard for years, but especially in the last couple. And she has really, really done well. I am very, very happy that I got to meet her, got to talk to her for a second. I hope she comes back to one of the promotions that I frequent. I would absolutely love to just say, hey, thank you for being awesome. It's not like any of the wrestlers are necessarily going to watch this, and if any of the NWA wrestlers are watching this review, thank you very much for taking time out of your day. And thank you to anybody taking time out of your day to watch my reviews and watch a wrestling fan, a 38-year-old, nearly 39-year-old wrestling fan, and of 35, going on 35 years, watching and being insane about wrestling. But seriously, so glad for Thunder Rosa. Marty Bell is also a very good talent. Ashley Vox, not that familiar with her. Been impressed with the stuff they've been doing with her. And Allison Kay, whether she's Sienna and Impact, Allison Kay here, she is really, really good. And this was a good match. It was a good little tag match. It was really just about building, you know, Ashley and Allison wanting revenge. Things seem to be going their way. And then Melina suddenly comes from the crowd. And she's dressed to the nines, dressed in a big old black, you know, flowing dress. And what the hell's going on? Whose corner is she in? Why is she here? And Thunder Rosa gets the most dreaded finishing maneuver in all of professional wrestling, the dreaded roll-up. And I mean, I joke about that. It's nothing against any of the people involved, but it's just so many matches from WWE, New Japan, AEW, you know, and even NWA, and like via like, you know, a roll-up and stuff like that. And I just find that kind of funny. So it's like a running gag. But this was good stuff. Thunder Rosa gets a win over the current NWA Women's Champion. And we possibly could see that match at Into the Fire. They haven't announced any of the matches yet. We're still just under a month away. We're now just under a month away from the pay-per-view. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Melina then is there. Melina's still there. We get a double stomp from Thunder Rosa to Allison Kay's back just to cement this whole thing. And we're probably going to get that match at the pay-per-view. And it appears we have a trio. Melina, Marty Bell, and Thunder Rosa. Good. I hope that something good comes of this. And then we get Austin Idol, a kayfabe cocktail, an aphrodisiac. Hey, you want to get that woman, you know, you want to get with that woman that's your neighbor, that's your hot neighbor? Well, give her this. That's a little uncomfortable. It's like the Bud Light, take no out of your vocabulary. That's a little uncomfortable, guys. Maybe don't say that. Maybe don't say that. So, we get Ricky Starks and Colt Cabana. Folks, give me just 1 second. I might get right back with this main event. Apologies, folks. Just taking a quick break right there. Ricky Starks and Colt Cabana versus Question Mark and Aaron Stevens. Pretty decent tag match. I mean, the Question Mark was over. Aaron Stevens was not. This ends with Ricky Starks getting pinned by Aaron Stevens after the big old, you know, karate throat chop. And then Aaron Stevens says, wait, tag me, and he gets a victory. And, oh, by the way, at one point, Aaron Stevens moves the crowd because we needed to see that. This match was pretty decent, told a good story. Obviously, we're going to get Ricky Starks getting a pretty big push here. And it's just this program with Stevens is designed to get Starks over. So, overall, the show is pretty good. We then get one final promo. James Storm challenging Nick Aldis, says, well, he's having all these exhibitions, and he won't put the title on the line against anybody. And then Camille comes and whispers something to him, and he says, well, sorry about your damn luck. Now I'm going to address the whole thing with Jim Cornette. His comment that was edited out. This is from a taped show, by the way. I just want to emphasize that. It had to do with Trevor Murdoch strapping a bucket of fried chicken to him and being able to ride a bike through Ethiopia and survive, basically fight everybody off. Now I want to say this as an equal opportunity offender. I found the joke funny. And I took it as a joke. And people can shred me in the comments if they want. You absolutely can shred me. I have said plenty of offensive shit in my life, and I will again. I do get why some people are upset. Some people do not like Jim Cornette, and that's okay. He's very divisive. He has said much controversial shit in the past. And, even, yes, there was leaked footage, leaked audio of him using the N-word and using derogatory slurs about black people, even if it was back in 93, 94 or something like that. Somewhere around that time frame. That was leaked audio sometime earlier this year. And it was impossible to defend that. Even as somebody that listens to his podcast, and yes, I do listen to his podcast, and I enjoy his podcast, even though I recognize that he does go too far with quite a bit of his stuff. Is he considered a dinosaur to a lot of people? Yes. Do I totally get why people are upset about his comments? Yes. Where does the blame lie? The blame does lie on Cornette, maybe recognizing, yes, he shouldn't have said that, but he probably thought he was bulletproof. As of right now, the NWA has not let him go. They still have shows in the can that he has done. Like as far as like recording commentary, because they record a slew of shows. They can record all the way up into the End of the Fire pay-per-view, or just before that. People that are calling for him to be fired. Okay, if you want Jim Cornette to be fired, that's totally fine. I'm not excusing what he said. Again, even though I laughed at the comment, because guess what? I laugh at controversial shit. I also recognize why people are mad, and they have every right to be mad. There are some people that are taking it too far only because it's Cornette. But that's hard to tell with some people. I've had many discussions with a lot of people. While I was at work. I did not get to see this live. I only found out about the comment and wondering why Twitter was in an uproar after I came back to my phone like 2 hours later when it was like slow at work. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I go, oh. My exact reaction, I laughed at, I heard what he said. I go, oh, yeah, I see why people are upset. So that being said, if the NWA doesn't have him as part of the End of the Fire pay-per-view and doesn't have him as part of the TV tapings and moves on from him, okay. I would like to hear him as part of the pay-per-view and the tapings going forward. But they do have a decision to make. That being said, and I'm not excusing what Cornette said. You guys can feel however you want. You guys can shred me in the comments for all I care. You guys have a right to your opinion. I have a right to mine. I'm not defending what he said. I'm not defending the fact he used the N-word in the past. There are so many people, though, that tend to focus much more on what Cornette says. His defenders and the people that go absolutely insane and will defend anything he says, okay, that's a bit much. There are angry people on either side that really do need to cool it. There are a lot of logical people that are using smarts here. The NWA knew what they were getting into when they got Jim Cornette, when they hired him. And there's no excusing that. There's no excusing, ultimately, the fact that, yes, Cornette said what he said. And it shouldn't have been said. Even though some people found it funny and recognized it as a joke. People can take it as racist, and that's fine. It's all about interpretation. The NWA also is at fault here for this, because this show was taped 2-something months ago. How did you not think to edit this out, or maybe say to Jim after it was recorded, maybe you shouldn't say that? Like, really, I know that they taped these shows in a few days' time, I think 2-3 days' time, but still, how in the world did all parties involved not realize that this was going to be something that might blow up a bit? Now, there are other controversial comments that were said on other wrestling programs. Jerry Lawler referred to Humberto Carrillo as a Mexican jumping bean. They come from the same age. The same era and all that. And I'm talking about Cornette and Lawler. And there's a bunch of other comments, a bunch of other stuff, and I'm not defending either of them. But there's an outcry from a lot of people to get rid of Cornette without recognizing there's a systematic problem with a lot of insensitive comments and a lot of other stuff that needs to be addressed across the board in a lot of wrestling companies. AEW, WWE, NWA, and the NWA needs to rebuild their brand, and hopefully they can. Hopefully fans don't give up just because of what Cornette said. Support the wrestlers while recognizing that no company is perfect. And again, defending whatever, you guys can feel how you want. But those are my thoughts on all that, and I'm going to address these in another video and flesh out more of this stuff. It may be an audio podcast, and maybe video. We will see. But those are my quick thoughts. Anyway, do you agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.